I'm Dave, and this is Austin Eats. Today I'm going to be smoking beef short ribs in the Kamado Joe. Here in Central Texas, we have a lot of barbecue places, and beef is actually far more popular than pork. It's probably because we have so many cows here in Texas. And the most popular beef item is undoubtedly the beef brisket. And number two would be the beef rib. We're going to find out why. Texans don't like you messing with their beef. And that means they don't really like a sweet rub or a sweet sauce with their beef. In fact, most of the great Texas barbecue places here in Austin use a very simple rub that's simply 50% salt and 50% black pepper. It makes a nice crusty finish and has no sweetness to it at all. Well, that's okay for brisket, but I like something a little bit sweeter on my ribs. I'm not from here, so I can do that. So today I'm going to be doing a Kansas City style preparation. So it's going to have a little bit of sweetness in the rub, and we're going to finish it off with a barbecue sauce that is a tomato-based sauce, but it also has some whiskey in it. It's delicious. Let's get cooking. So I've trimmed the ribs by removing any excess hard fat from the meat side of the rib. Hard fat just doesn't render well in the smoker anyway, so why keep it? I've also removed the tough membrane that is up against the bone. Some people leave that on, but I find it just is more appealing to not have to fight that when the ribs are all cooked. So now it's time to load them in a tray. And season them generously with my Kansas City rub. And I mean generously. And I do all sides. Now I find the ribs are moist enough that the rub will stick to them. There's really no need to add any extra moisture at this point. And those are now ready to wait. So I pulled these out of the refrigerator about 30 minutes ago, and I want the rub to rest on the meat for about another hour. So in an hour, they'll be ready to go on the grill. The reason being, you don't ever want to put cold ribs on a hot grill. If you do, there's not a lot to this. So if the outside is real cold and it's suddenly in a 250-degree environment, the outside is going to actually cook faster than the inside, and that's going to produce a rib that's a little dry on the outside by the time the inside gets done. So you're better off letting them come up to room temperature, or at least about 60-65 degrees Fahrenheit before you throw them out there. So we'll let these sit for a little bit, and I'm going to fire up the smoker. So my Kamado Joe is set up for indirect cooking. I've added 6 or 7 chunks of cherry wood to create the smoke, and I've placed a pan of water on top of the diffuser. Got to have water in here to keep these things moist. I'm now going to add the ribs meat side down. I don't want to crowd them, but I do want them all to be over the water. Now I'm going to add my temperature probe in the largest rib. And we're ready to cook. I set up the Kamado Joe to run at a 250-degree temperature until that rib hits 165 degrees. I'm doing this with my fireboard. When it hits 165, we're going to pull these off and take it to step 2. In the meantime, I'm going to baste these every 30 minutes or so, and it's time to go make a basting sauce. I want to make a basting sauce that enhances the flavor of the ribs without dramatically changing the taste. To do that, I'm going to add 1 cup of red wine, half a cup of water, 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce, and the secret ingredient is 1/4 cup of beef tallow. This is basically rendered beef fat that you can get at a specialty store. And of course, gotta have butter. I'm gonna add 2 sticks of butter. Actually, this is 1 stick of butter. And I'm now gonna heat this up, let the flavors blend, and throw this into a squeeze bottle to use for my mop sauce. And the rule on cooking with wine is simple. Use good wine. If you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. For the barbecue sauce, we're going to heat up a couple of tablespoons of olive oil and saute a 1/2 cup of chopped yellow onion. When the onions are soft, turn off the heat and add 3/4 cup of Jack Daniel's whiskey. That's very flammable. That's why we turn off the heat. We're also going to add a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce, 1/4 cup of white wine vinegar, 1/4 cup of honey, quarter cup of molasses, quarter cup of tomato paste, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper, 2 cups of ketchup, and finally 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. We're going to mix that all up, heat it up, and then let it simmer for about an hour, hour and a half. The ribs have been on the grill about 2 hours. I basted them with the basting sauce every 30 minutes, and the thickest rib is now about 160 degrees inside. It's time to take them off, put them in the pan, cover them with the rest of the basting sauce, cover that with foil, and back in the heat. So in the tray they go. And I'm going to turn these meat side down so that the basting sauce is actually against the meat. Now we'll cover that with foil and wait about 2 more hours.
Top them with some of the barbecue sauce and you have some mighty tasty short ribs, y'all. You can find the recipes for the basting sauce and barbecue sauce at amzn.to. If you like the video, let me know. And please subscribe. We've got new videos coming out every week. Thanks for watching. See you next time at Austin Eats.